moving to oneness. Nourishing curiosity. Embracing differences. Becoming one.
Today is a really special occasion, and you will hear why. Maybe you can see it already if you are watching the video. It's gonna be Meilin squared, and you're wondering why. So stay tuned to figure that out. Hello everyone, I'm Meilin Ehlke, your host of the Moving to Oneness podcast. So yeah, I'm Meilin Ehlke. I'm sitting in Bavaria, and it's all dark outside. And even my guest today has a dark background. So it's going to be interesting what is going to arise today. If there is maybe, as we look up into the sky, and even my guest has white headphones on, everyone. So do take a moment to jump over and watch the video if you can. So it reminds me there will be a lot of information probably from the star nations today and inspiration for you to look at the stars. So let me welcome Mei Wengel. So here, there's the Mei, the double Mei. And when we come together with all our other Mei beings, that's the squared. Thank you, Mei. You're also in Southern Germany, and I welcome you to the Moving to Oneness podcast. I'm so happy you're here. Our paths have crossed for over a decade, over and over, and we're having a lot of fun. So every time we come together, there's laughter, there is creation, creativity, fluidity, a flow, water, and a lot of Chinese. So welcome, May. Wonderful to have you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I think this is my first time on your podcast, and
Yeah,
I'm
it
very
is.
grateful for the invitation. It's really nice. I always love hanging out with you and talking to you, so it's always fun.
Yeah, I have been, I think, 4 or 5 times on her podcast, everyone, in German, in English. There were several topics, sometimes even. One of your podcasts you had made was, or you still have, is about humans that have a mishmash, that's the German
Yeah.
phrase, but a mix of cultures in their blood, in their ancestry, and what it does to us, what it brings light to, what is a positive to it, and sometimes also what creates a separation about it. So share why you did so many different topics to inspire people around the world.
I think it was my own process going through my own personal development, going through the notions, going through everything. And of course, I think it has to do with me being I'm trying to establish the norm mixy for us.
Aha, that's a good one.
No, so yeah, I'm Chinese Ecuadorian German. So my mom's Chinese Ecuadorian and my dad's German, and I don't know how much more cultures in the back are in the background before that, but that's like the physical body that I have in this incarnation. And and it has led me to struggles, of course, on personal levels, on levels of um feeling like what you just said, feeling separated. And it's at the beginning, it was a search for my own purpose, for what do I want to do on this planet, and or what am I supposed to do, or what did my soul decide to do on in this lifetime. And so it was a search going through. At first I was doing stuff for burn and bore out people. So I know that term is not so known in the English speaking world. It's more a
Do
German,
explain, yeah.
yeah. It's basically a form of depression due to either too much work because you're overworked, so you burn out from your work, or the bore out, which is not because you're bored, but because you don't have meaning in what you're doing. And that was my case. I had like, I don't know, I had jumped from different kinds of jobs every 2 years, 1.5 every 2 years, something like that. And of course, a little bit I thought it had to do at first. I thought it was the jobs. I'm not finding what I want to do, what I'm supposed to do. um so when I started, and at some point it came, I started to go on a spiritual path to find myself, basically. And I found myself being someone that can teach, that can help others, and that can coach others. And so I started coaching people that went through that kind of depression, because I had gone through my own kind of depression. And so that's what I started doing first. And then on my path of getting to know, because it's, it's not a straight path.
No.
I don't know anybody who has had a straight path, but on that straight path, on that not straight path, I found myself asking myself, like, if all of those things had to do with me being a multicultural person. So, and then that part came into my work of being, seeing, like you said, on one hand, the separation that we think we create ourselves, by, in my case, it was, for example, whenever I went to visit for me, the first couple of years I lived in Ecuador. So that was like my core family, where I spent the first years on this planet. And then, so when we moved to Germany, for me, it still was the family in Ecuador. But whenever I would come back and visit them, they would say, "Yeah, but you're the German one." And they wouldn't say it. I'm saying it this way, but they wouldn't say it that way. They were saying it to see, like, "Yeah, but you're the German one," to make it special. You're like, for them, that was the special thing about me. But for me, it was, "No, you don't belong." That's what my soul was interpreting into that. And that was also a very important step on my own personal development, to realize that it's actually, I don't have to decide if I want to be only that or only that to belong. It was a huge step to just say, I embrace all of my different sides.
Yes.
Being able to say, because I know I have, even though we don't speak Chinese anymore in our generation, because it got lost through the generations in Ecuador, but I know that we have a lot of cultural influence from the Chinese side. And so I know that, I remember in that, I'm very grateful to that psychologist who helped me go through that part of myself, because at one point she said, "You don't realize you have a treasure chest full of possibilities. I only have the German side. I can only react as a German person, as the culture that I was, brought up with. You, at any kind of moment, can decide if you want to answer in a Chinese way, answer in a Latina way, or if you want to answer in a German kind of way. So it's a whole treasure chest." And that was the beauty to, like, oh my God, okay, I can be everything, right? And of course, with that, and that's when we, I think, when I started the podcast for the Mixies, was to realize, to see, to show that separation that we feel because of the whole, different cultures that we have. I wanted to show that, because I know that someone that lives just in one part of the world can also suffer of cultural mix-ups, right? Because I mean, where does culture come from? It's not a country thing.
No.
It's a thing of values that people have for themselves. And so it's about deciding, what kind of values do I want to live? Which ones do I want to let go of? Like right now, I'm living in Unterallgäu, which is also Bavaria. So we're even in the same, what do you say, in the same state
Region,
of Germany? Yeah, region.
state.
Um, And now I am living in a very country. It's the countryside. Like there's only
You're living
700
in a
people.
small village up
Yeah.
close, up high in the mountains already. Yeah, the Alps a few meters further. You
Yeah,
can go almost mountain
yeah.
climbing.
We can see them from here.
Yeah, let me.
Yeah. But it's a whole different culture than the one that I lived before in Munich, and that's only an hour away, right? And I've met people because that's one of the things you feel like, because of those differences, you're, how are going to people accept, are people going to accept me the way I am, right? But it's been incredible. Like we've been and this is one of the things that I know is because once you find the peace within yourself with all your sides and embrace all your differences and see the beauty that you have in that, you have a tendency to shine. And just by doing that, you're going to be belonging everywhere, right?
Beautifully said.
And because that's also one of the things that I notice as a mixie somehow, I think, and I feel in some form of way, all of us are trying to find where we belong. And for me, I remember the first moment after my whole journey, the first moment I felt like I was belonging somewhere was the moment I let go of everything in Germany, packed my bags, and was sitting in an airport.
I
Well,
had many conversations with you in airports. I mean, you were
yes,
more often at airports. One time I think
yes,
I was even one too, and said, "Oh, I better go. My plane is
yes.
leaving. I better run."
I remember that one. Yeah, and for me that was the symbol that it doesn't matter where, what country, what culture, it just means about belonging to yourself at first. And that was something very, very important for me. And that's why I did the podcast with the Mixies. And um yeah, but then I moved on again. I
Beautiful.
moved on. I moved on again, following the flow, following the inner flow. And one of the topics, and this is one of the things why I think it's so amazing that you are one of the longest spiritual friends that I have. And
Oh,
I think you were there when they told me that I'm an empath. And back then, it was like there were no books about it. There were no websites about it. And I remember, both of my teachers back then, and both of them told me, you have to, like, we can't really tell you how to deal with this. You have to learn by yourself. And I know that was my path, and I had to go through that. And this whole empath thing was also part of my problem, to put it this way. And please note, for everybody who's just listening, I'm putting it in quotation marks. For me, problems are beautiful learning experiences. That's why I'm putting them in that. But back then it felt like a problem. um, and for those of you who don't know what an empath is, it's, maybe you've heard of highly sensitive people. And highly sensitive people are people that feel energies. They feel them, they know, like they walk into a room and they can sense, okay, something's wrong or something's good. And then the empath is more like a sponge of energies. So for the empath, sometimes, if you're not, if you're not working your own energy system properly, I always say it's the unconscious empaths. They walk into a room and then they just suck up energies and they feel it's their own. They can't make a difference between themselves and the other ones, and that's why they tend to be confused with themselves, don't know if the inputs they're getting are their own or if it's someone else's. And it's a struggling phase that you go through when you start developing your empathic nerves, or your empathic muscles. That's what I like to call them. um yeah, and then so I went on a journey to do that too. And I even went so far, because I didn't find any other empaths, that it felt like, okay, so this is something that no one wants to know of, so I'm just going to deal with it by myself, and I'm just going to put it somewhere else. But then, like, I think about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, something like that, it came to me that if I want to, the people I can serve best is actually empaths. So I went back and started to find out, like, are there other empaths? Where are they? Like, what are they doing? And I realized that suddenly there had been 4 people that wrote books about it, all of them in English. So no one has written books about it, had written books about it in German yet, except one that was a US American doctor that was translated into German. And I think by now it's been a little bit more, because I feel like this year all the empaths are sprouting somewhere. And because, and I feel it's that a lot more people, especially because of everything that has been happening around the globe in the past 2 years, a lot of people have been waking up to their feelings, to their emotions, to the energies that are happening. And so, yeah, so this is right now, I feel, and this feels like, we were talking about it a little bit earlier, this feels like I finally am where I'm supposed to be. Like, this is like my whole being is finally doing what it's, like, I shut off everything else, and I'm finally where I'm supposed to be, and it's right now supporting other empaths. So this is my path right now. um Help other empaths.
Fantastic.
This is my vision: help other empaths to deal with the energies, because I believe that it's so important for us empaths to be here to support the energies. I feel like we are the ones that hold the space, so it's important for empaths to know how to hold their own space, how to hold space for others. And yeah, so this is where I am right now.
Yeah, wonderful, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You're so right. This time of seclusion has been very helpful for many because you're in a way, a little bit in isolation, and it provides, you using the word space, the opportunity, the time uh, to sense oneself, to go into contemplation, to have time to question. And if I look at it from an empath, someone who feels energies close by really good, and you also feel the world's energy and much more, right? Um, but for a moment, and then a day, and a week, and sometimes in lockdown we even had months, right? You had time as an empath to, and many others, so, but especially now it was a gift, I think, to figure out how you function, how everything moves, how your way of energy um, feeling works, is how you exchange, and what you want to bring out into the world. And what you want to bring out into the world has been for many people an important thought, right? To move more into, what do I love to do? What do I do best? And that's why I probably love to do it. And do I also want to bring that in out into the world in my way, right? For me, that has been also the last 2 years. What is Meilinisch? And it has always come through and through. But now, what is there? There is also the timing. This is the other thing. So for many of us, there is now the energetic timing and support of not just the human community, but our planet's community and of the cosmic community, to provide this, in a way, of force, light, love, to be who we are fully, and to embody our knowledge. And you can notice it in the vocabulary. You can notice, as you mentioned so beautifully, Mei, how people are speaking, having time to write down the thoughts they had, to influence and support, influence is the wrong word, to support, invite, inspire others to also move into this position. And you also a channel, you, and so you in a way also feel the future often, and you feel what is coming. So you feel often already a struggle people have way before, right? Also the humanity struggle on the planet. And then you also work with it. I would say you're not just an empath, you're also a healer. You have this strong love for everything existing. And you want everyone to feel themselves. You use the word flow, and everyone, she has a scarf wrapped around herself, and it's blue, different colors, and it looks really also like waves. And may you have to talk later a little bit. One place where you also found your rhythm, and a place where you found yourself, you had mentioned you have traveled a lot to find yourself, to find what parts are within you, where you can find them again, what other people have also this um, questions about themselves, if they have different cultures within, where you can also visually see it. For you can visually see you're not so German, you have a little Chinese, right? The Latino is maybe not so clear. For me, the American, you couldn't hear so much, but I didn't fit in because of the way I walk. Yeah, but when I lived in the US, everyone could hear the accent. Yeah, and then even though one day I didn't have an accent, suddenly it was. So there are many things, but you also went into the water, into salt water, into an ocean, and you left both of the continents that were really performing you. And even, and it was not the China, we in Indonesia. Share a little bit more what you became on that journey, on this exploration of your oneness.
I would say because you were just saying about the way I look, and one of the things that I find amazing is that when I'm in Ecuador, no one recognizes me as an Ecuadorian. I'm too tall and I dress too European. And when I'm here in Germany, you know, they don't hear an accent because my German is very accent free, but they sort of like, huh, maybe, I don't know, but because I think because Germans are very polite in that way because of the history, they're not gonna bust in and say, "Oh, so where are you from? Where do you got your roots?"
Yeah, like Americans. Yeah,
Not like I like doing that. I like doing that too sometimes because I just I want to know what people's roots are. But the funny thing is, and this is something that for me I feel like my soul's language, because I feel like for us Mixies, we also are very good in translating languages, and I'm not just talking about languages, like country languages, but also emotion. And I think that's probably being an empath is also because I feel the way things are being taught, the way things are being talked about. And when I was on my journey out of a burnout and bore out and stuff like that, one of the things that helped me most, because I finally, and this is what I keep saying, that was the language that my soul needed to understand the universal laws of energy. And that was the Hawaiian philosophy of Huna philosophy on one hand, and the Ho'oponopono, and the Ho'oponopono Keala, which was the last teacher that I had on Hawaii. And the funny thing is, and this is where it comes, my body chose this combination of DNA, and when I'm on Hawaii, no one questions me not being from there. This is what I find so funny. The countries that I'm actually from, no, you can't be from here, Yeah. And then I'm on Hawaii and I have discussions with people going like, I'm not local. What? No, you cannot be. No, you're from here. You Tita. You're my sister. And I'm like, no. I would love to. I would love to. And I remember my very first flight into Hawaii. I was sitting next to a Hawaiian, original Kanaka. That's what they're called over there. That's what they call themselves. And he was sitting next to me, and I was sitting on a window at the plane, and so I leaned back so that he could look over to on when we were flying into Kauai. And then he asked me, So you're coming home? And at that moment, I didn't understand. I was like, Yeah, no, I'm coming here to learn." Aha. So what?" And then the last time I was there, I was getting, when I was already taking off, I was sitting by myself in a restaurant, in one of those airport restaurants, very small, on Big Island. And I was just having my last dinner, and then, and the lady, it was just the two of us, and the lady working behind the counter, and so she starts telling me about her family, and and things like that, and it felt so normal and natural. And and she was talking about, how her family is and stuff, and then she goes like, "So were you going off to on vacation?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was here on vacation. I'm flying back home to Germany." And for real, she stared at me for 5 minutes, going like, and you could see in her head going like, "What?" I thought she's from here, because she was even talking in slang and everything. So that's just one of the things that I find so funny when you follow your flow. I was just following, my soul was aching for this, and no, yes, I love Hawaii, but no, it's not. I don't. I feel like it's a very good place for me to energize, but it's not my home place.
Mhm.
If anyone asks, I do
Okay.
love Hawaii, and I'm looking forward to going back. And I love the teachings, and I love the teachers I've had on there. I love the islands, because I mean, for me, you don't not only learn from the people, you learn from the places. And for me, I don't know why, but I have a tendency to love islands, so I'm a huge island fan. So that's one of the things. And I think islands, because they're surrounded by water. And I used to, and I think that's what you actually wanted to know. I used to, I used to be very, very fearful of the ocean. I used to have panic attacks going into the water. And at one point, actually, because of the death of a cousin of mine, because we wanted to spend more time with the other cousins, um, my sister and I decided, okay, let's learn scuba diving so we can hang out with them when we're there visiting. So we went to learn scuba diving, and while doing that, my panic came out really strong. So it was like, okay, okay, like, okay. And I used to be a swimmer as a child, but the older I got, it got worse. So I started scuba diving, and I was like, okay, I need to tackle this. And at that point in my life back then, I had two big fears, and I said, the first thing I need to do is overcome my fear. I need to learn to overcome my fears. And the two big fears that had come up with the bore out, by the way, because this is like, you see, it's not straight. It's like going all
Yeah.
over the place.
A
But the two
windy
big,
path.
yeah, a
And
windy
sometimes
path.
we turn around, go backwards, go forward, left, right, follow energy
Exactly.
lines. Energy lines don't move straight anyway.
Exactly.
Energy, no lines. Take the line
Yeah.
away.
And so I had the two big fears that I had, and that I noticed for myself. 2012. We're talking about 2012, by the way. It was me being afraid of being myself,
Wow,
because I
that's a
was
big one.
afraid.
Everyone hear that?
Yeah,
You're
I
not the
was
only
afraid.
one who goes through this.
Yes. And the second one was me being afraid of the ocean. So what do? Okay, let's learn scuba diving. The next year I said, okay, I'm gonna do surfing so that I can learn to, be with the water. And I remember my surf teacher, he was so, like, the last day, it was like, you're supposed to just be on the paddle and just, stand on the board. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, we were walking into the water, and I like, my ankles were underwater. That was it. We weren't even in deep or anything. And I see a wave with three fish, which is nothing bad. I mean, fish are not going to do anything to you, right? But I see that, and
They
my
welcomed
panic.
you.
Yeah, they were welcoming me, and I went panic attack, full blown panic attack. And I'm like, wait for it. I have to go and meditate. And he was like, how can you how can you learn surfing if you're afraid of the ocean? Da, da, da. And I'm like, I'm learning. I'm learning. Give me time. Go surf. I'm going to sit here. So I sat there. I meditated 1.5 hours, and then I went into the water, and it worked. Like, it was beautiful. It was really, I got up on the board. So, like, tiny steps, and then going back to, and parallel to that, I was working on my fear of being myself, and I was learning a lot of Hawaiian philosophy and Huna philosophy. And in one of the books, Search Kahili King, if you guys need a recommendation, search Kahili King. He has a couple of very beautiful books about the subconscious work and stuff. And in one of those books, he explained that one of the gods of the ocean that the Hawaiians praised, that the one god, I'm really sorry, I forgot the name. It's so long ago. I forgot the name of the deity he was talking about, but he said is the god of the ocean, the one that takes care of the big ocean, and he's the one in charge of your deepest, most inner strength.
Wow.
And when I was reading that, inside of me it went, I'm afraid of the ocean and I'm afraid of being myself. So for me, it was like, okay, so if I beat one, I beat the other because they're entangled, they're together, they belong together. And so I went and I remember it was I did by myself. I did a shamanic meditation, and I asked my spirit guides to help me, to support me, to I said these two things I have, let's do whatever is ready to happen right now. And so I'm not going to go into the details of what happened, but after that meditation, I went back. I think it was a couple of months later. We went back to Ecuador. We went scuba diving, and it was no problem, no panic attacks. It was beautiful connection with the ocean. I went surfing, and actually, while I was walking into the ocean with a surfboard, I see a wave, and I see a stingray in the wave. And now
Ooh.
stingrays are a little bit different
Then three
than
little fish.
three little fish. But and this is those are the moments you celebrate
Yes.
when you see that, and a couple months ago I would have ran out of the water right now. But at that moment I was like, oh my god, that was so beautiful, that was so beautiful, I want more, hello, and kept on walking, and you're like, what happened, like it was so beautiful. And for some people this might be weird, but I fell, of course, when you're a beginner surfer, you fall off the board a couple of times. And Ecuadorian beaches have a little bit tiny. It's not. It's very sandy usually, most of the spots, but the one we had, it had a couple of stones. So when I came out of the water, I had, how do you say? I
Scratched yourself on.
scratched myself on my wrist, and I thought for me it felt like the ocean had given me an initiation, because it was
Ooh.
like it showed me you're ready, you're ready. This is why I have my wave here, to remind
Exactly where the scar was.
exactly where the scar was. And it's a reminder for me that I can overcome any fear.
Wow.
And ever since then, I mean, I still have,
Respect.
yes, but I'm working on each of them. It's like, you follow your flow. It was like after that, I still went scuba diving. I mean, I still do. I even travel. I
She
try
always
to
sends
only,
beautiful pictures so we can be
yes,
part of it and celebrate it and see the beauty May sees.
yes. So and back then I would have never thought that at one point in my life I would, redirect my travel only to scuba. Like for me, that's like of course I'll go somewhere else if it feels like it, but I try to go scuba diving as often as possible, to be in the ocean, to be with that element. And but that was but what I was going to say is that I was afraid of taking off the mask underwater. Now for the scuba divers, you guys know, you're supposed to learn that, because it might happen that someone, either a fish or someone else's another scuba diver flips off your mask. So you should be firm with it. And I was always afraid. So when I was scuba diving, it was nice scuba diving, but I would dive like this if I would be close to people, like don't take off my mask, I don't want to. But also that I was following my flow, and I got to a point where I was at a place where it was, and this is what I find, that's the thing about mastering your fears, is finding the right moment, your wave. I love, my favorite saying is, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to serve them, and serve your own wave. And you find yourself in a spot where you feel comfortable enough and strong enough, because the wave is coming, it's building up, and you're strong enough to tackle that fear. And it was when once you start doing that, you get so much beautiful help. You know, I found myself in Thailand in a scuba school where the teacher took so much time to just spend with me practicing taking off the mask, diving without the mask. And now it's, for me, it's playful. Okay, let's take it off, you know, like it's no problem anymore.
You
So
attracted the right people for
exactly.
you.
So my next thing when that wave hits, I'm still, you know, we're still going backwards. The ocean is gathering. Um the next thing is going to be scuba diving in caves.
That
That's
was, I had that question on my tongue the whole time. So when are you going into the, even the lakes that are up in the Alps, or caves, or the cold water dives that are here? They're not so sexy because it's not so clear, but that is a special wisdom. Because the whole time you are very creative in acknowledging what you want to do, right? Somehow you set an intention, and everyone hear that. Mei is very good in setting an intention and to find ways to get there. And you have mentioned a few times, it is not always the straight line, and you don't have to power yourself through, right? That's the way we have been taught. But there is now a way that we're remembering, and is to move in your pace, in your rhythm, and to go forward a little bit, and to stop and rest and eat something, drink something, maybe come back next year and take on. And no one is worthless or a failure or anything because of this. So in a way, I see you teaching that, and so people don't feel so judged and don't judge themselves, that there is a possibility in looking at everything from many different angles. And you've been in several different countries and different waters, right? To always learn one part and get a step further,
yes.
and play with it, and get to know yourself. There is the water anyway has we're very fluid beings. You and myself. I remember, May, I have a story. When my son Tilo, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, he was in the hospital because of breathing problems. And a few weeks later, I just had the inclination that he needs to be in warm weather. In Germany in March is really not so warm. So I wanted this ocean, but I didn't want to go to the cold ocean. I don't like it so much. So we went to Egypt. And he wanted to learn to scuba dive, but he was only 10 then. Also, then it was 5 years ago. So you couldn't even do. But I found a beautiful man, and I set the intention. I hope there's someone who teaches him a beautiful, a loving, a gentle way. And exactly like what you said, then this man appeared. He was Egyptian, and he took my little son and noticed the finesse. Both men were very fine, my son and the teacher. And they learn to walk into the ocean with a whole scuba and go deeper and deeper as my son became comfortable. And one day we had another one, and that guy just wanted to throw him in the big thing, but it was not the way my son learns or likes to learn, or right. And then he stopped. He didn't want to dive anymore. And luckily, I took one more lesson again with this gentleman who took time so he can learn to float and really feel comfortable for him to say himself when to take the next step. And I think you were very lucky. You also always had teachers that waited for you to make the next choice of moving forward, and they were patient. And I invite everyone, if you're a teacher, become more patient, ask and observe, when is your student ready, when do they start asking their own questions, and then move forward. And for my son, what happened out of this whole experience then in the Red Sea was that he found his new way of breathing, right? Because you had to depend on yourself May, like you're right, underwater, you have to depend on yourself. You have to trust yourself. You have to find your rhythm. You have to prepare yourself also, right? And you have to test your own gear. And again, you have to depend on yourself. This provides strength. This provides understanding of oneself. It really has many, many uh, beautiful ways that are being strengthened, fine-tuned, deepened, and provide, oh, the word is missing at the moment, not self able to do things, and you that feels comfortable. They become posed because you know you can act on it because you have had the experience, not someone taught you, or just empty words. You really experience this change, and through that also, May, you will be a beautiful teacher in bringing that closer to others.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, I've put myself on panic attacks underwater. Like you said, it's very, I mean, you're supposed to go scuba diving always in pairs. So you're always supposed to have someone. But a couple of years ago, my sister, who was my buddy, went into having kids, so she's not scuba diving right now. But I hopefully next year. But and she's the only one that has brought me into caves, by the way, because at the beginning. No, but what I was going to say is you still have that, like you said, the strength and dependency on yourself. And I remember, and I think this is the very most important part about, overcoming your fears and overcoming a panic attack underwater, like me underwater, was that you create, and this is what I'm saying, you create that environment by feeling the wave. When are you ready for it? Do you have, and looking at your resources, do you have the right people surrounding you that are going to hold you in case in case of something happening? So
So important, yeah.
yeah, so this is what happened to me when that was in the Caribbean, because you do night dives, and I'm fine with night dives, but that was my very first one where we turned off the lights, because one of the most amazing things happened when you do that in the Caribbean, because you have fluorescent animals underwater, so it feels like you're sitting in a galaxy, because it's like, you're sitting there on the bottom of the ocean and you're surrounded by little stars all around you, and it's just
Ooh.
wow, and I think that's why I'm so drawn to the Caribbean. But anyhow, it was my very first time, and I had told the guide, the scuba guide that we had that was guiding our group, and I had a diving buddy, and I had told her that I come from fear, so just in case, just for her to know. It's like, it was so comforting to just have someone who knows that maybe I might need their help.
You were courageous enough to share that, right? I think that is very important to have the courage, or yeah, I think that's the best word, to share and to teach others how you function. Yeah.
Ex- yeah, for me, it's like I wanted to have that, because it gives me the comfort of, okay, if anything happens, they're there, they know. And we talk about what could happen, and so my buddy told me, I'm here. If you need me, just reach out. My hand is right next to yours. And so we did that, and we had to kneel down on the bottom of the ocean. You kneel down in the sand, and then, so I knew she was right, like not far away from me. And then you turn off the lights, and then suddenly I go into this panic attack, and I can't breathe, and I'm like, hyperventilating, what you do in a panic attack. And I'm so grateful, because in that moment I had like two beings inside of me. The one being that was having the panic attack, and then the other being that was going like, what changed? You only turned off the lights, you
Mm.
know? And I love that I was able to have that dialogue. And I think everybody has that. We just don't
Yeah.
listen to that part. We only listen to the panic attack side, right? And I think the important part was in that moment, and I think that happens best, like I said, when you have your resources, when okay, in any moment I could turn on the lights if it's too much. I can just reach out. I have a hand there. but I didn't. I wanted to, embrace that panic attack side of myself. So I started to see, okay, so what's going on? What's happening? You have your I keep forgetting what the English name is of the regulator in your
Regulator.
mouth, and there's air coming in. Look, touch it. So I touched that. I touched my mask. It's still there. And it took me a couple of minutes, and then I remembered because my sister was the one that was calming me down in my first panic attacks underwater. So I remembered what she did with me underwater, and I was imagining doing that with her in that moment, even though she wasn't there. But energetically, she's there with me.
Right there.
And so I calmed myself down, and I was able to go like, wow, finally, relax the whole body and finally embrace the galaxy around me. And then, what happened? It was, on one hand, I realized it's a voice. It's a story I was telling myself that I'm not having air. I had enough air, you know? So being aware that fear and anxiety, a lot of the times it's a story I'm telling myself. Because I mean, we do have really life-threatening things, so please take those out of the question. But in general, like day-to-day things that create anxiety inside of us, it's stories that we told ourselves. And those stories, of course, they have origins, and they have their own truth and their own um, meaning of being in our lives. But once we realize it's just a story, and we start listening to that other side inside of us that is saying, hey, everything is okay, everything is going to be okay. The universe is here to help you, to support you, or yourself, your higher self is here to help you and support you. There's so much um so much that is just, just relax. Just relax into your own flow. Don't push it, because pushing is also a story. So just, just do that. I came out of the water, like in Germany, you say, I came out 3 meters taller than I usually am. Because suddenly, you did that and you overcame that moment. And then, and you feel a lot bigger and a lot stronger because, wow,
And
like you
alive.
said,
You must have
another,
felt very alive.
yeah, like, okay, let's do the next thing. What's the next thing I'm going to tackle,
Yeah, the little
So,
adventurer in me, huh?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like the caves, but the funny thing is I'm going like, yeah, caves, and then I'm in Greece, where I do Greece once a year, because I have friends there now, and it just feels like coming home for 2 weeks, and they have beautiful caves, and with them it's like, okay, let's go, and then I'm in front of those caves and I'm like, nah, I'm not going in there. So I feel the flow is not there yet, but like my sister made me go through a couple of those caves in my first couple of dives. So we'll see when she comes back into the picture
Yeah,
physically.
and whatever comes.
Yeah.
Next year, in 2 years, in 3 years. Who says we have to do it all right now? Sometimes there are other things that are more important to be looked at, to be done. Yeah, so we can just go, as you said so beautifully, with this flow and see what comes our direction. Because if we plan too much, we are not open enough for the unfathomed. And that, I think, is also what you mean under flow, that what comes, and you open up to the opportunity and the adventure of what arises and the change, right? And you're curious for what it is. And this is, in a way, like, yeah, lying on your back in the river. The river's like this, right? That warm enough and the sun shines from above. And sometimes it's very soothing, and sometimes it becomes more adventurous, wild water suddenly, and then it's soft again. And maybe there comes a waterfall, and there are always ways to go through it or down it with the waterfall, or you get out prior and walk down and then get into the water again. So there's so many opportunities, and we can choose what we want in that moment.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've realized that is like a parallel thing that's happening there is with everything that we overcome, it's also new tools that we gather for ourselves. And maybe further along, you're going to need those tools.
Yeah.
Because in my case, for example, I would have never thought that I want to become, an expert on panic attacks. Because, before scuba diving, I never had panic attacks myself. But one of the things, and this goes out to all the empaths, because we have that energy, and Meilin, we have talked about it, Meilin, we have talked about it a lot of times, how we also change and create the energy in the places, for me, where I go to, right? And I think this goes for all the empaths out there. We are like, how do you say, energetic cleansing machines, right? When we embrace that gift that we
Optimizers, you're
have.
very
It,
good optimizers. You bring things back, all of it, but into the original, into the primal state.
yeah, and for me, I see it a little bit also like, like a vacuum cleaner, because we go around, we suck all the energy in, and for me, we turn it into something else. And one of the things that happened was I was having trouble with my hand a little bit. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor sent me to get an MRI. And I was like, why do I need an MRI? Okay, whatever. For this little thing, why do I need an MRI? Whatever. And it took a while until I finally got the date, because here in Germany, they were backed up with the MRI dates. So, as usual, I always go with my whole energetic crew into places like that. So I went with them. So I'm there. They lay me down. I had to lay down, with my head down. And I was wearing a mask because it's right during this time. So I was wearing a mask. I was having that. And so I was lying on my base. Basically, I was almost, taking away my own breathing by just lying on that thing. And I'm surrounded by all my how do you say, healers, healer energies around, surrounded the MRI. And I'm like, and right the moment that all of the, the physical people that work there leave the room, I get this thought in my head: while we're at it, why don't we clean this MRI from the panic attack? Because I have a friend that has panic attacks, because she has to get a lot of MRIs, and she gets panic attack, like she can't do, and I'm there like, okay, while we're at it, why don't we clean this MRI for the next people, so that they don't have the panic attack energies in here anymore?
Beautiful.
And at the moment I finish that sentence, I start with a panic attack. I can't breathe. I start the hyperventilation. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm going to press the button. And I'm like, no, 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 don't. You know how this works. This machine is not going to do anything bad. Look, you have space. You have everything. Why are you having this? You usually never have problems with small spaces. And so I, I, I was so grateful that I had the experience underwater, that I knew how to deal with panic attacks, that in that moment I was like, okay, yeah, wait, you just asked for it. No, okay, yeah, just breathe it out, and then I just, I embraced it. I said, okay, we're cleaning right now. We're cleaning right now. After like not even 3 or 4 minutes, it was all over. And I was just lying there, and then the sound started. And I know that a lot of people get panic attacks because of the sound. And I was just lying there. I'm like, yeah, no, this isn't bothering me. I almost fell asleep. So
Oh,
for me,
thank
that
you
was
for all everyone after you that they were able to have a good experience in the MRI. And I love that, we can dictate so much on this earth. And you went into that role of not just, um, even though you speak a lot about going the flow, but you're also someone who chooses and creates, right? It's also
yes.
realities, even when you said that so beautifully, or you did the sound of sucking it. Realities do disappear this way, but we have to dissolve some to create new ones, and this change. And we have to dedicate time, energy, and intention on it to do that. So you're doing really two things. And this is really what the way of the flow is, right? That whatever opportunity or situation arises, you look at it and you physically know, mentally know that there is no problem, you can handle it. So this peaceful state within the eye of the storm. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is the kind of going with the flow. You mean that there's always a way to get through it, and it's a beautiful learning
Mm.
experience, and that is what you're also off to teach others. Wow.
Yeah,
And
it's
we
basically
spoke
enjoy
about
the
before
ride.
that you're going to probably also write the book about that.
Yes, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Yes, because I did when I was doing my research to, okay, so what is there about empaths now? I read, I think, like 4 or 5 those books that I told you. Like
Yeah.
I really bought all the books that I found. I bought them, I read them. And one of the things that I loved about it was that they explained empaths pretty good. That was like, I was reading myself in those books amazingly. It was like, yes, yes, I could have used this book like years ago to explain who I am, like to understand myself better. But I was missing the how to. Like, how do I, like, because a lot of it was
The
like, okay,
implementation, which we only can learn through experience.
yes and no. And it felt like, guys, there's so many things you can do to just, go into your gift, to really live this gift that we have, because it's a purpose, it's a gift, it's
Way of
something
life.
beautiful that we have, right? And for me, I believe it's our souls that decided that before coming in here, to that we're going to learn to, you know we have the ability. And I believe that as empath, I think everybody, all humans have the ability, but I believe that empaths just took it upon themselves to become masters in it. And I believe we are masters of energies, and we do that, we can do that. And I was missing that in the books. It felt like it told me how to deal with it on a day-to-day basis, but it didn't. I was missing the parts where it was like, so how do I, like, how do I do this? And so this is why I feel the calling to write my book, to really not, this book is not going to be explaining what an empath is, or what a high sensitive person is. This book is going to be for everybody who's interested in energy, and how energy works, and how the universe with energy. For me, everything is energy, and every one of us can move energy. And it's about becoming conscious about, like you said, set the intention, become conscious about how you can move the energy, how you can become master of energies. And that's why, uh, like you said, I can, in every moment, I can decide if I want to, wallow in how bad everything is, or if I want to focus, or just set the intent, like you said earlier, set the intention to the solution. Even though I don't know the solution, sometimes I don't know the solution,
No,
and I
that's the
don't
fun
have
of
to
it.
know. Exactly. And I don't have to know, and I don't have to know how to get there. I just have to set the intention. I know the solution. That's it. And when you live and breathe that, you get solutions. When you live and breathe, if you're yearning ease, live and breathe ease, even though you don't know yet how to get ease, how to become that, or how to become peaceful. But set the intention that you already know how to be peaceful. And you will have people coming in. You will find Instagrams, you will find
Bingo.
Instagram posts, you will find YouTube posts, you will find Facebook posts, whatever social media account you have, or Google, or whatever, or you'll just find a strange person on the street telling you something. But once you set that intention, you're fully in that energy. And not that's why it's about this decision of, do I want to wallow, or am I done wallowing, and am I ready to start getting stuff done? And then you just, set the intention in the right way.
Oh, I
And
love
don't, hey,
that.
I love wallowing moments. I have my own wallow
I know
moments.
those. But they're
Those are,
important so we can
yes.
understand again that and where we come from and how to get in and out. They always becomes very good teaching tools. That's how
Exactly,
I see that,
exactly.
yeah.
But I think it's important to know, am I intentionally wallowing right now?
Yeah.
Or am I being, pulled into the wallowing? Or am I, if I decide intentionally, okay, today I just want it to be my wallow day, or am I really, and tomorrow I'll start getting sorry, getting things done, and getting started on doing what I want to, what I want, what intention, where do I want to go, what energy do I want, and what kind of energy do I want to be? And it's like we were saying earlier, it's like magic. It's magic. You
Yeah,
start seeing magic around you. It's so mind blowing sometimes.
beautiful. Our cosmos is so beautiful. Every moment is so magical. And it's one thing that brought us together, and also that we've walked now for the last 10 years together, it's we always were interested to learn, not just to know that energy flows and that you can utilize it to do whatever you desire, but to figure out where does it come from and how can I even create it and work with it. And in a way, that's why I like at the moment a dictation, right? So you're not just a pass part of it, or it's not luck, or it's not a coincidence, and that we can really decide how to utilize it, what to act, what to do next, what not to do for our personal life and for this world. And it's for us, all of us, I sense, to move into that, to take our stance, to take our position, and to walk our knowledge now on this earth. And you're a very, very beautiful example of this, May. So where can people that want support in living their empathic way to the fullest, and to integrate it fully into their life, and to play with it, to work with it, to grow with it, how can they contact you, May?
I think the best way right now is to come follow me on my Instagram account and contact me through there. I do have a website in English, but I haven't updated it yet. So please ignore what it because I haven't looked at it for 2 years, so it's still on the mixy stuff that we did that we did a couple of years ago, and about purpose and
We'll put it on when it's new, when it's ready. I'll put it in the show notes,
yes,
because
that would be
it's
nice.
nice
Thank
about
you.
podcasting. People come ages later, and then when you're
True.
ready, it'll be right there. And I don't ever, for the right people, they'll find it at the right time. Anyway,
Yes. So I think the best thing is I'll give you I'll to put in the show
yeah.
notes
Can you
my
mention what the Instagram handle is?
the Instagram handle is Mei Wengel.
Can you spell it, please?
Yes. So it's Meiwengel.
Perfect. So everyone, you can find her now on Instagram. So what are the last words you would give to the audience to move into the empathic or fluid, mm, courageous oneness?
I would say stop fighting yourself and embrace all the beautiful sides of yourself. All of it. Everything, every aspect that you have, the one that is slow, the one that is fast, the one that is loving, the one that sometimes is grumpy, the one that is hurt, because I know that a lot of empaths feel the pain of the earth right now, like of the whole planet, and sometimes it feels like it's the whole galaxy. um, you will find peace the more you embrace yourself. The more you do that, you will find peace and less pain. It's going
Yeah,
to be
and
more fun.
ways how to support our planet Earth to heal, to lose those scars, right? To rejuvenate. Mhm.
The best thing an empath can do for the well-being of the planet is heal themselves.
Yeah,
Heal yourself of your stories, of all the pain, of all the hurt you have, of the fears you have. Heal them, transform them, and be ready to step into your bright, shining being, because it's kind of it's once you do, it's
Woohoo!
so magical. It's so incredibly magical, and it's
I
beautiful.
can sense it. I can sense it. It is a bright light, and also some light is so high vibrating that there is no brightness to it, and this is also a beautiful, comforting light.
Yeah.
So fantastic, May. Thank you for playing with all of us on the Moving to Oneness podcast. The best to you to um, write your book, success, to find the time now, also on your next travels to play with the marine life and to exchange your wisdom with it and to share that with us and the world so we can be part of it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you to all the listeners who took the time. I think we overdid a little bit.
Ah, it's always the right time.
That's true. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Bye bye, everyone. This is
Bye.
Meilin, your host of the Moving to Oneness podcast. Have a wonderful time and explore any water in your area wherever you live, from snow, rain, lake, pond, creek, or ocean. Bye bye.